Hello and welcome to the Romance Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Martin, and tonight we will be talking about summertime romance. But before we launch into all of that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Nancy.
I'm Nancy Northcott. I write paranormal contemporary romance about wizards fighting ghouls and demons. I also write romantic suspense that has no magic in it. And I write historical fantasy for Falstaff Books that has romance subplots.
Very good. Layla.
I am Layla Dorine. I write, pretty much any genre. I've got romance. I've got all kinds of shifters with romance, biker boys with romance, rocker boys with romance, just kind of a good mix of everything.
Very good. Chantal.
And I'm Chantal Mayer, and I write male romance. I write a lot with my writing partner, Susan Scott Shelley. We have a rugby series. We're starting a hockey series. So whatever we feel like, we write.
Okay. And I'm Gail Martin, and Morgan Brice. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. So lots of spooky chills and sexy thrills. So what's romantic to you about summertime? That's a good place to start for us on this one. Nancy?
Well, I think the warmth, the higher temperatures makes everybody feel kind of languid and move a little slower. And it's more like time to savor things. It's not really that romantic to sit side by side and sweat with somebody, but in the South in the summer, you do that and you get used to it, and you kind of stop noticing it. But I think in general, it's the way the tempo slows down in the summertime.
Okay. Layla?
And for me, it's all the water stuff. Anything you can do in the water, all the swimming, all the jet skiing, all the surfing, the diving, like anything you can do on the beach. And that includes the picnics on the beach, the late nights where the sun's going down and you've got the bonfire going and you've got the camping out in the woods, and just all those summertime outdoor activities, the sports, all the, I write romance too. And it's just all those sweaty activities that you can get into and just have fun doing and have fun with the cleanup.
Okay. Chantal?
Yeah, I like the slower pace. I think it's the slower pace, and I love just the longer days, being able to sit outside. I'm in the Northeast, so sitting outside in the wintertime is not really not fun. So, sitting outside and having a drink and just just that warm, fewer clothes, not so much clothing. That's skin to skin. I think it just lends itself, and that easy, slower pace, like Nancy said, I think is a big piece of it.
I agree with you on all that. I think that a beautiful evening with a fire pit and some fireflies darting around after you've thoroughly sprayed for mosquitoes, because there's nothing sexy about mosquitoes. But having gotten rid of the pest, getting to watch the fireflies and cook a hot dog or cook some s'mores, that's just lovely and sexy and romantic. And all those people running through sprinklers and getting their clothing wet and having it stick to them, that's a very pleasant part of summer. And sharing an ice cream cone, watching somebody eat a popsicle lasciviously, anything that you need to lick away drips from is very sexy, and summer has a ton of those things that can give you all kinds of ideas. So I think that there's a lot of sweet romantic stuff that goes with summer, and there's some pretty sexy stuff that goes with summer also. How have you used summer romance in your books, Nancy?
The second book in the Light Mage War series, Renegade Mage, takes place during the summer, and it is hot and languid. and people aren't wearing a lot of clothes. There are no swimming scenes in that particular book, but it is warm and things are a little slower, but that's also an action adventure book, so not as slow as it might be in others. I have another book that's set in the summer called Worth the Wait, and that is a romantic suspense set in a small southern town in the summer. And the hero has a pond on his parents' property. He's home for a month and has some of his friends over, including the woman who he never dated and never forgot, who's the heroine of the story. And so there's a lot of bathing suit activity with that. And I enjoy doing that because with the Light Mage books, people are running around blowing stuff up. And I'm kind of taking them through a cycle of the year. So after Renegade Mage, we move into the fall and then into the winter and then the start of the next spring. So I'll be doing winter romances for the next little while. And so it's kind of nice to have something where there's not as much emphasis on stuff blowing up and you're focused more on the people, because that's just more quiet moments. And I think that works well for the summer.
Okay, Layla.
Oh, I just got this in the mail today. This is my summer romance for this year. It's part of the Pride Pet Play series. Mine just came out just a week ago. And it's funny you mentioned popsicles, because there is an extremely drippy, streamy scene in that book involving some fun things the characters get up to with those popsicles, especially the super big ones. We had a really fun writing that. So there's some beach scenes there. There is definitely, I took the characters down by kind of a private lake area, and there's about 2 chapters worth of private lake fun out there with that. So yeah, that one was really, I had so much fun writing it because we got to incorporate the Pride Parade and all the activities around Pride with it, which, I associate big with summer. I'm here in Iowa. It's already summer. It's been summer pretty much since the start of June. It went from, oh, hey, 50s at night to, oh my God, it's so hot. We don't want to go outside anymore. Unless it's pretty much to go jump in a cool pond and hang out. So that was kind of my big one, was just putting those pond scenes in that book. And
Okay, Chantal.
Yeah, so Susan and I have a book called Shine, and it's the third book, I think, in the Our Love and Rugby series, and that's summer. And it is, there's the beach, there's putting sunscreen on, like that's always a fun little a fun little thing. And the one thing that I love about writing summer is I don't have to worry about coats. Like outerwear drives me insane. Like, because I'm like, wait a minute, they've just come from outside. What are they doing with their coat? Like, so I love that I don't have to worry about that.
you don't have to keep track of all the layers to be stripped off.
Do they have a hat on? Were there gloves? Where are they? What's going on with the scarf? Like, yeah, none of that. Like, so I'm just happy that there are fewer clothes that I have to keep track of.
Well, thinner layers also mean that you can appreciate, somebody's shape much better at first glance. Somebody in a snorkel parka, you really a mystery bag. You have no idea what you're going to get until you unwrap it, because it could be anything under there.
That's right.
So yes, I agree with you. All those layers do get in the way. Badlands is my series set in Myrtle Beach with a sexy psychic and a skeptical homicide cop. And of course, Myrtle Beach is a big tourist town. Simon runs runs Grand Strand ghost tours right there on the boardwalk, where he does psychic readings and ghost tours. Vic is a homicide detective and sees, the dark side of the Grand Strand. And so the first book, which is really at the beginning of tourist season, there's a lot of snow cones and tourists and beautiful days by the beach. And of course, a supernatural serial killer, because it's me, as one does.
And what is summer without a supernatural?
What?
scenario?
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
really.
It's just a beach vacation and, what makes that special? Yeah, without a body or two. Yeah. What's your favorite summertime thing to do, romantic or not? Nancy?
Eat watermelon. I love the foods of summer. My favorite summertime lunch is a garden fresh tomato in a sandwich with watermelon or fresh peaches with it, because South Carolina is right over the border and they've got peaches galore, and you just go down, you buy them and they're fresh and it's great. And then if I could find a way to throw in corn on the cob with all that, I would, but that's kind of an odd combination. But I'll take cantaloupe if it's available. And now that they have bred seedless watermelon, and whose idea was that? You can't do
Genius.
watermelon spitting contests.
Oh, I
And
love that there's no seeds because I hated them.
Well, it's easier to eat. Granted,
Yes.
it's much easier to eat, but I think I've got to have some heirloom watermelon because I have a scene in mind where the hero and heroine engage in a watermelon spitting contest. And while that doesn't sound all that romantic, I'm going to do my best to make it kind of work out that way. But I just have memories of sitting on a jumping board. I don't know if you all had those when you were growing up. It's just a plank nailed on a couple of 2x4s, and it was flexible enough that you could jump up and down on it. And we would sit on the jumping board to eat watermelon because it's drippy and it makes a mess. And people's mothers would go outside and eat that. And then we would spit watermelon seeds. And so I miss that. But I totally get why you're not a fan of seeds.
No,
other than the spittable factor, I'm not really either.
Okay. Layla?
Aside from, barbecue and all the wonderful melons, because I love those, motorcycle riding, getting on the back of the bike and just taking off and having mostly beautiful days where you can just go and see so much of the country from the back of a bike. And pretty much every one of my books, just about one of the characters has a bike, and there's a moment where they get on together and they just go ride up to the waterfalls, or they go ride down the coast, or they go just ride off somewhere where they can just, there's nothing like being wrapped around one another on the back of a bike and, cruise until you just get bored and want to stop somewhere and sit and see things and talk. And it's just a wonderful vibe when you've got two people on the back of a bike.
Very good. Chantal?
I just love being at the beach. I love the vibe of the beach. I love the water. I love getting up early and walking the boardwalk, or walking the beach. I just love all of that. Like I love the smell of the salt air. Like it's just, there's just something about it. And I love the beach nights. You can smell fries. There's nothing better than beach fries.
Mm-hmm.
So anything beach is, and yeah, I just love that.
I love amusement parks and fairs. Now, depending on where you are, amusement parks can be open all year round. Where I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania, they were a definite summertime thing. But going to the amusement park or the county fair with a date, that was just really romantic as a teenager or, a young person, because there were the lights and the midway games and the food, like those amazing funnel cakes and French fries. And maybe he'd win a stuffed animal for you. You could snuggle real close on the rides and, walk hand in hand down the boardwalk. And that was just amazing. The same thing with the county fair, or if you weren't dating somebody, you could go with a gang of girls and you could, maybe spot some guys that might have potential. And that was always fun too, even if nothing happened. But I always have thought of fairs and amusement parks, particularly at night when the lights go down and there's music and all the daylight is gone, but everything is lit up now. And so it's much more fancy and festive, and it just feels like anything could happen. And I've always thought that that's just, tremendously exciting and romantic. So, when you think of your characters, what would be their ultimate summertime date, or if they want a grand gesture to show their love, what would it be? Nancy?
Well, Griffin Val and Renegade Mage are kind of too busy trying to not get killed to have a very good date. If they had an opportunity for their ideal date, they're sort of city people, and they would enjoy going to New York and staying in a nice hotel and visiting galleries and museums. But Dix and Tess in the Worth the Wait summer story, they'd go to the beach. They live in Raleigh, and so they're like smack in the middle of the state geographically, but it's only about a 3.5 hour drive to the Outer Banks. And so I think they would probably go to the beach, play putt-putt, eat junk food. I like junk food too, Chantal. And there used to be an amusement park at Nag's Head that you would probably have loved, Gail, because it was a little tiny place run by a family. It was only open in the summer, and had a little teeny Ferris wheel, not the kind you find that you go that Spider-Man would be comfortable at the top of, but nobody else. And you would, if you stopped at the top, you could look out and see the waves over the oceanfront buildings, which was really cool. But I think they would just go to the beach and chill out, probably. And there's a child in the picture, so they would enjoy watching her make sandcastles, I think, and helping her do that.
Okay. Layla?
Getting up super early in the morning, throwing some stuff, maybe a tent, change of clothes on the back of the bike, taking off for parts unknown, stopping at a little roadside catfish stand, little farm stand, and getting, the melon or the ice cream or the crazy ice cream sundaes with the fresh peaches and raspberries, on there where they can sit in the shade and feed one another before getting back on the bike again and going to see, probably end up by the water, either at a pond, at a campsite, or at the beach, walking along. A lot of riding, a lot of walking, some sitting at the end of the day, sharing food, feeding one another, walking in the surf, fireflies coming in, just all that cool, relaxing stuff, maybe making a weekend of it, setting up the tent somewhere and camping out and just sitting around the campfire and, swapping stories and talking about stuff. And just, I always loved sitting around the fire growing up because my dad would start telling stories that he hadn't told before, and he used to ride from California to Massachusetts on his bike. So he would tell us about people he met along the way. And that's actually where he told us the story of how him and his buddy hitchhiked to Woodstock for the original event. And so, just sharing those kind of things and getting to know one another better around the campfire, before they get up the next morning and ride some more. That would kind of be what they'd be doing.
Okay. Chantal?
Well, Apollo and Hercules, they have their first kiss on the beach after a fireworks show. So there were fireworks, they're watching them from the beach, they have their first kiss. And they actually go back to stay at the beach house. Like, it's just a time to, and again, like I said, there's just this different vibe at the beach. And Apollo and Hercules they're kind of these, quieter guys. So they want to have that time together. They want to be able to cook together and prepare a meal together and just have that one-on-one time. So they spend a lot of time at the beach, and then they would definitely have Apollo's dogs would be with them because they're adorable.
Well, in the brand new Midsummer Mischief at Canham Castle collection that Nancy and I are both in, two of my characters from the Deadly Curiosity series, Cassidy and Kel, finally get to go to England on vacation to this castle and this wonderful little town. And because they are very involved in stopping supernatural threats and stopping ghosts and monsters, they are looking forward to some time off where they just get to enjoy this castle and the food and the festival. And of course, it never runs that smoothly. So before they end up, stopping a Fey apocalypse, they were having a really good time with all of those things, including a midsummer festival and a corgi parade. and lots of street food and performers. So I think, that's definitely one of the summer romances. We actually get to see them having some fun there before they save the world again. Um, and I think with, of course, with Simon and Vic in Point Blank, the newest book in the Badlands series, they're getting married. And so we've got a wedding in a beach community and all the things that lead up to that, including their bachelor parties, which they do in town. Their friends take them out to be tourists on the town where they live in, because everybody knows if you live in a tourist town, you never do all the tourist stuff. So they get to go. Simon's friends take him to the amusement park, and they take him to the Sky Wheel, and they take him to all these places that miniature golfing, all these places he'd never go on his own. And that's part of his bachelor party. And Vic's brothers take him to this complex that has laser tag and bumper cars and all this other fun stuff that, again, he's never going to go to by himself. So that's part of the ramp up to the wedding in a beach community. And so that was kind of fun to create. If you could create any ideal summer vacation, preferably with your sweetie, or for one of your characters, what would it be, Nancy?
I would like a place that's near the water. It doesn't have to be the beach. It could be a river or the intercoastal waterway. Plenty of time to read. A couple of years ago, my husband and I went down to the Outer Banks, and it was so hot. The heat index was 105. And the sunscreen literally melted off my face. He said, "You've got white stuff running down your face." Oh, that would be the sunscreen. So we ended up actually having a vacation we really enjoyed. We went into the little town of Manio, visited the bookshop, got some ice cream, and went back. We had an ocean view, not an oceanfront room, nice balcony in the shade, sat on our balcony and read books all day, just sitting there together and reading. And then went out for a nice dinner every evening. And there are a couple of museums there. In the morning, we went to the Festival Park, where they have the recreation of the Elizabeth II, the recreation of the ship the Roanoke colonists sailed on. There's a big museum there. So in the morning, we kind of go into the town and walk around. We went to the North Carolina Aquarium one morning. So it's a mix of things with things to do and time to relax and read. And I love the water. I would really be just as happy by the mountains. It's just kind of what do you do? And is there time to just hang out and just read because you want to? And nice meals. That would be it for me.
Okay. Layla.
Actually just came back from pretty much the vacation I'm about to give my characters, and we had a cabin out in the woods by a nice pond. We're about an hour from the coast, so we could cruise down, be on the coast, right down by Gulfport, and walk the beach and grab amazing seafood and bring it back to the cabin. We attended Blueberry Festival, and oh my gosh, warm blueberry syrup over vanilla ice cream just makes the most delicious little floats and sundaes there. And so, I mean, I'm already gearing up to put that in the next story and kind of have the characters down there. They've got the cabin where they can sit and relax and, hang out on the couch and read in the evenings and read to one another or watch a show together, or just turn the lights off and listen to the music, which we actually did that at one point when we had the storms going. They had such bad thunderstorms coming through. It was so much fun to just sit out on the back porch in the rocking chair. I mean, we had a very rustic old style cabin. We had rocking chairs on the back porch, sitting out in them, rocking, watching the lightning and the storm in the distance and the lightning bugs and everything. And I just think that is so relaxing and so sweet. And, you can still have the fun in the pond or have the fun in the water. And we actually played 18 rounds of putt-putt. And we went to one of those arcades and did some skee ball and, buffet at the casino. Can't forget that. And a few rounds on the slot machines, and then back up the coast.
Nice. Chantal.
I would love to, like, as long as I'm near water, I'm happy. I mean, and I love, again, I love, love, love the beach. But as I've gotten older, um, I don't like to sweat so much. Um, and my husband fly fishes. So like I love, like, when we go out to Colorado, because they have great fly fishing for him, and he gets up early and he goes and does his thing. And I can, like you said, Nancy, I can sit and read, and and it's not too hot. and and I like that, I love if there's like a winery nearby, because we love to like do that somewhere that I don't have to cook. Someone is cooking for me, or we're going out to getting meals. If there's live music that we can do one evening, just where we're together and enjoying each other's company, but also have a chance to do something that we each, I mean, my husband loves fly fishing. I'm not going to fly fish. Like, that's just not it for me. Like, but I love that he loves it. I love when he comes back and tells me about his day. So.
Well, one of the reasons I picked Myrtle Beach for the Badlands series is that we've gone there on vacation for 20 some years, and our kids grew up going there on vacation. Now that they're grown, I love going back even so, because it's exactly that. You get a room with a view of the ocean, you get down on the ocean, you read, you eat something, you read some more. You come back up to the room in the air conditioning, you get cleaned up, you go for dinner, you come back, you read some more. There's a pattern here. Reading is even better when you can look out past your book at the ocean, with or without air conditioning. I mean, it's just better that way. I discovered Cape May, New Jersey, because that's where our oldest daughter got married, and completely different beach vibe than Myrtle, because it's in New Jersey, and different different beach vibe. But there was this wonderful place with fire pits and cornhole and a live band and a bar, and it just had a wonderful feel to it. And there's a lighthouse, and they got married at the Lowe's Ferry Terminal, which sounds really funny, but it was built to be a wedding venue with the second floor is all windows looking out on the harbor. And it is just absolutely gorgeous, especially at sundown, because it's right there. And so fell in love with that very different beach. And then the Fox Hollow series is in the Adirondacks in upstate New York, completely different feel, huge forest. You go in July, it's still chilly, but that's where the Fox Hollow Shifter series is set, because it's just such perfect, beautiful terrain. And there are all these lakes. And there was a hotel that we stayed at that was a Victorian hotel. And we were just reminiscing that their homemade waffles, the deep Belgian waffles with the homemade fruit compote for breakfast, I would drive all the way to upstate New York to get junk with those waffles. So, so many beautiful places that have all different kinds of romance. And it's just fun to bring some of those experiences to your characters in your books. Now, what about summer disasters? Nancy, you mentioned melting sunscreen. There are all kinds of things that can go wrong on what's supposed to be a romantic summer evening. Have your characters experienced this, or have you run into it, or have you just, observed some unlucky person having a bad day? Nancy?
I do enough bad stuff to my characters without ruining their holiday too. So I haven't done that to them. But the melting sunscreen day it was a disaster. We were going to go out on the beach, and we were thinking about sitting down there and reading, because the hotel where we were staying would rent you an umbrella, and they would put it up for you and tag it. And then that, you could rent it for 3 or 4 days at a time. And then we would just go down on the beach and read. Well, this came as a surprise, because we've been to Nags Head a lot. Walking was like, it's hard to walk when you're sinking ankle deep in sand. And I thought, well, it'll be better down by the water, because it's, it washes away. No, it was not better down by the water. And so we kind of labored through the sand for like 10 or 15 minutes. And he said to me, "Are you having a good time?" And I said, not particularly, are you? And he went, no. So at that point, we surrendered on the beach because we couldn't walk in the dry sand and we couldn't walk in the wet sand. And there were other people walking and it didn't seem to bother them at all. So then we felt like we were feeble or something. And so we just looked at each other and went, you know what? Let's go to the bookstore and get some ice cream and wash off this melting sunscreen first. And that wash off the melting sunscreen sounded like melting sunscreen is just gross. So washing that off first seemed like the best idea. And so that was kind of our day on the beach, turned out to be a, yeah, not so much.
Okay, Layla.
Definitely overheating motorcycles, and I've been on enough. I've been through the Badlands in summer. I've been out, leaving the Midwest and heading for DC in summer. There's nothing like having a bike overheat or go wrong and you're pushing the thing up the highway when you've got, you're all in leather and you got 100 degrees of sun beating down on you. I have two characters in mind who are set up for that right now, experience that they are going to have. And it is going to last well into the evening of them pushing this bike back up the highway to get where they need to go. But as I discovered on the very last day of our trip, fire ants.
Oh,
Fire
they're the
ants are not
worst.
fun. So, we had stopped in Tupelo, Mississippi, and two of the people I was riding with, they wanted to go into Elvis's birth home, whichever. And I was like, well, I'll hang out with the dog, and her and I'll take a little walk. And we walked around the reflection pond and up the hill, and then we found some shade to sit in. And I was just deep diving into this amazing book when I was like, ow, ow. And I looked down around my feet, and the dog kind of whines, and I'm looking down, and she's sitting next to me, and there's these ants, and they're just swarming around our feet. And I like grab the dog, and we're running for the car, and we're using the water from her water container to try to wash these ants off. And I've got lovely stings. I have lovely
Oh.
marks all over my feet from the lovely fire ants. So I definitely intend to inflict those upon some of my characters at some point. Probably not quite as nicely because I got out of there fairly quick, and I think I'm going to be a little bit more evil to them. But fire ants.
Okay, Chantal.
So I think so I was a teen actually when this happened. My father and stepmother rented a motorhome, and we were driving we were driving to Sequoia National Park, and and I think we had been in the motorhome, like I think we had driven like maybe an hour or two, and the tire like blew. So when you are driving on the road and you see the tire, yeah, that was us. And we were like in the middle of the desert. There, like this was before cell phones, and we were at like, I remember we were like calling from, I think there was actually like a police station or something, and we were like on the payphone back when there were payphones, calling to get someone to come out and like put a tire on this thing. It ended up taking like hours and hours, and it was just a nightmare. And so we just call it, I mean, to this day we still call it the Wally World trip, because it was it was just like it was just one thing after another. And now that I'm thinking about it, that could be fun to do to someone.
Do that to a character.
Yeah, right.
Well, aside from sunburn and mosquitoes, which are, a constant threat out there, Florida also has no-see-ums, which are appropriately named little tiny bugs you can't see.
The worst, yeah.
But on me, at least, it looks like someone has taken a red magic marker and made perfect little dots everywhere. So I look like they're the wrong shape and color for measles. I just look dotted. And they take forever on me to go away. So, that could be amusing. I guess, they don't really itch. They're not really uncomfortable. So I guess, you could write that into a story and they could have a love scene, you know, connecting the dots. I guess you could do that, especially if one of the characters is as pale as I am. There are a lot of dots. Uh, I, as far as the car trouble goes, I totally understand the RV situation. We rented this RV once because we wanted to give the kids the experience of being in an RV. And two of my characters, Seth and Evan, travel in an RV, so this could totally happen to them. But the rental RV had something wrong with the smoke alarm, that it went off randomly for no reason, usually at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So 3 o'clock in the morning, the alarm is going off. We don't know how to stop it because this isn't our RV. The dog is howling, the kids are wailing. That's just so much fun. Interrupts anything you might have been doing. So there's that. And then on one particular somewhat cursed trip, when I was a kid, we'd rented a car and we were going to go to Key West. And this was before they replaced the 7 Mile Bridge. Well, our rented car died 3.5 miles across the 7 Mile Bridge. There's nothing but ocean on either side of you. And we did get AAA to send somebody out, and he, you know, sent for a tow truck, and he said, yeah, this bridge isn't in good shape. It could fall down any moment. We're building a new one. And I'm like, great, we're stuck here. This is perfect. But we could kind of, you know, it was memorable. So yeah, there are all kinds of things that can make for a trip, good and bad. And if you're with the right person, though, even the bad things aren't too bad, and they do become one of those stories you tell around a campfire to somebody later on. Well, folks, believe it or not, we are through our time. So I want to give everybody plenty of time to say where we can find you online. And if you have a new, recent, or upcoming book or books, please tell us about it. Nancy?
You can find me at nancynorthcott.com. The main form of social media I use is still Twitter, and I'm probably on there more than is really good for me. And I'm Nancy Northcott, just at Nancy Northcott there. My most recent release is actually historical fantasy with romance subplot. It's The King's Champion, the last volume in the Boar King's Honor historical fantasy trilogy. And then I have an upcoming release in July, which is called Mage's Nemesis, and it's the next book in the Light Mage Wars paranormal romances. Oh, and I am not in Mischief in Kingdom Castle. I'm the publisher.
You're the publisher. You did
Yeah,
a lot of editing. You know, you deserve credit.
Oh, well, thank you. But anyway, that's out, and Gail has a story in it, and it's got a gorgeous cover and a really nice range of summer romance stories. So y'all should check it out.
That's right. Layla?
My new release is actually right here. It's called Painted Love. It is an MMM Pride pet play novel. You can find me as Layla Dorine pretty much everywhere. I don't have Twitter anymore. That's the only one I don't have, but I have Facebook and TikTok and Tumblr and Instagram and just about everything else. I am usually all over online. I've got a newsletter. You can find me on Wix at Layla Dorine at Wix.com. That's my website. That's also where you can sign up for the newsletter. Pretty much just look for Layla Dorine and you will find me.
Nice. Chantal?
So you can find me at chantalmaire.com. You can also find me on Facebook as Chantal Maire and Instagram. I do have a Twitter account, but I don't go on there anymore, so kind of useless. And Susan and I released the first book in our hockey series, Against the Rush, that came out the end of May. And then we also have a story in the charity anthology, Love is All Volume 6. And there are a number of authors who have participated in that anthology. And that's on, you can get it at any of your retailers. It's only available for a limited time, and all the proceeds go to charities that advocate for LGBTQIA plus causes.
Okay. I'm pretty easy to find online, gailcmartin.com, morganbrice.com. on all the major social media under both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. My latest book, I'm in Midsummer Mischief at Kingdom Castle, which with a Deadly Curiosity novella. And then Point Blank, the most recent book in the Badlands series, just came out. And that's Simon and Vic's Wedding. So lots of good stuff there and more stuff to come. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight and for sharing your evening with us. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more romance coming up here on Continual. So we'll see you online.